Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast. My name is David Higgins. I am so glad that you and us get to spend this time together over the next 30 minutes. We have an amazing podcast in front of us, and I think a very interesting conversation. Colton got a chance to speak with Catholic Relief Services that is in Moldova and other countries round about Ukraine, as well as in Ukraine, and it was a very, very interesting conversation. Also, Sandra is back with us today after having her baby, and we get some baby news as well. I am so excited about what is taking place on the international side of things, as well as what is taking place inside Ukraine with nonprofits, and we get to share those stories with you today. Hey, how things are going over there with you?
I'm doing well. Had a lot of changes lately, like in the past week, especially. We had our baby this past week, and it's been really crazy. So we're really excited for what's about to come up in the next years. Her name is Isla. Yeah, we just wanted something rare that, it's really hard to pick. We were looking a lot. We wanted it to have meaning, so we found something that we like, both of us like.
Yeah. Isla, what does that mean?
Isla, it's in Hebrew, it's oak tree.
She's a fourth member of our podcast, so that's wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She'll have to make a few appearances.
Oh, wonderful.
Maybe.
So in the weeks ahead, we might get a chance to get to meet her.
Oh,
Yeah. We will try.
Colton, I know that things have been really this last week with Joshua House, kind of getting into the just caring for the people that come, into just the working of what Joshua House is doing. Can you kind of give us a little bit of an update of what's been happening in and around Leave and the homes in Jim and Sandy's life?
Yeah, so with Joshua House, we're continuing to grow the amount of people that we're helping right now. We're taking more people into our homes in Lviv. We're continuing to do renovations on a few homes so that we can take even more people in. It's a long process, but it's gratifying in the end to see how many people are really helped by us, doing these renovations and taking more families in. I think the founders of Joshua House, Jim and Sandy, are supposed to go to Poland sometime this week so that they can get some more supplies that we're not able to get in Ukraine to support more of these families and people coming into these houses and Lviv. And we're just trying to work however we can to help as many people as we can.
So we're at the point where we're going to go over everything you need to know about what has happened over the last few days in Ukraine.
So two high-level diplomats, Blinken and Austin, came to Ukraine, came to Kiev just to show their support. I'm sure there were some talks of how the U.S. can support Ukraine. They're ramping up to reopen the U.S. Embassy in Kiev actually right now. So I'm sure there were more talks about that. Hours after these high-level U.S. officials come to Ukraine and Russian missiles hit 5 railway stations.
When you kind of get the feel of where the Ukrainian people are at, do they feel supported by the United States government and support that's coming that way, or do they feel abandoned?
I think as Ukrainians, we do feel really supported by US and by a lot of other countries that are helping. We feel like we're getting a lot of help financially and supply-wise. It's just been really helpful, because everybody just started to reach out, wanted to help. It shows that people still have a heart for Ukraine to help. So we definitely feel supported.
One of the areas of nonprofit news that I am so excited to bring you is what is happening with the Jewish nonprofits in Ukraine. Why this is important is because Russia has said one of the reasons why they are attacking Ukraine is because of the denazification of Ukraine, and it couldn't be any further from the truth. If you look at the statistics that we all have heard from the end of World War II when it comes to Germany and what Germany did during the Nazi Party did during the World War II, they said over 6 million Jews were killed in concentration camps through the war. But following the war, in the next several years, the Stalinist regime that was there in Russia killed between 10 to 12 million Jews within their land and tried to purge Russia of a Jewish influence. That is what is called Nazification of a country. And that is the same government under Putin that is saying that that's why they are attacking Ukraine is to denazify. And it makes no sense. And one of the ways to bring this in the best context is in the word of a rabbi who is bearing some of his congregation members this Passover weekend in Kyiv. And here is a quote from Rabbi Moshe Asman. He said, "We do not need to be denazified. I've said this many times because we are here in a free country with a free religion." And what is so interesting is the Jewish population was feeling very safe and very free to worship as they could in Ukraine. But now they are dying like they haven't since World War II in the areas where Russia has come in and has attacked because they're not saying, oh, you're Jewish or you're Ukrainian. They're just saying you live in Ukraine and they're killing everyone across the board. I find this heartbreaking. But there is a group of nonprofits that is standing in the gap and that is really working hard in Ukraine and around Ukraine to help the Jewish population flee the Russian onslaught and be able to find safety, food, and the ability to, even for some, get over to Israel where they can hopefully start a new life. Give me just a moment just to go through these names and see if you know them. And if not, you'll find their websites on the description and you can look at them at your own time. One of the ones that has been taking a lot of attention right now is Tekva Children's Home in Odessa. They have launched an emergency Ukrainian relief campaign and evacuated over 650 orphans, students, alumni, and their families from the war zone into neighboring Moldova. So they're pulling them out of those areas that have been already overtaken by Russia through Odessa into Moldova and doing a very good job of that. The JDC, or the American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee, which is the world's leading Jewish humanitarian assistance organization, has a long-standing presence in Ukraine and is assisting impoverished seniors and supporting a network of Jewish community centers and social service agencies in the country and in the neighboring countries. AFYA Foundation, AFYA, AFYA, is conjunction with the UJA Federation of New York, is preparing urgently needed wounded care, surgery equipment, and biomedical equipment to be shipped to Ukraine and then help in country with those things. The American Jewish Committee Emergency Fund is pledging to direct 100% of funds to those meeting the urgent needs in Ukraine. The Rapid Response Israeli Relief Agency, which is assisting refugees of all backgrounds in neighboring Moldova. It doesn't mean that you're Jewish, it means of all backgrounds, they're helping on the ground. And finally, HIAS is working through channels within the United States and throughout Europe to support the safe and speedy resettlement of those seeking to leave Ukraine. Amazing nonprofits doing amazing things. I have to say, I'm so proud of these nonprofits and how they have come to the table to help those, not just with Jewish backgrounds, but of all peoples as they can with their resources. Good job, guys. Here's a shout out from us here at the Nonprofit Podcast.
So this week, my husband got a chance to interview Cassandra Welch from Catholic Relief Services, and they're doing some amazing job in Ukraine, in Moldova, helping out with refugees. They're helping with supplies and with whatever we need. And it was just such an amazing interview, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, everybody. Today I get the opportunity to interview Cassandra Welch. She's currently managing communications for Catholic Relief Services in Moldova, and they're doing a lot of great stuff around Ukraine to help the refugees coming out of Ukraine and displaced families that just don't have anywhere to go or struggling with food or medical supplies and stuff like that. How are you doing today, Cassandra?
I'm very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no doubt. It's my pleasure. So I'll just go ahead and get into the questions. Could you give our listeners who might not know much about Catholic Relief Services some background on what the organization's been doing for the past almost 80 years?
Sure. Catholic Relief Services was founded in 1943 by the Catholic bishops of the United States to serve actually refugees from World War II in Europe. And since then, our mission has always been to serve the most vulnerable communities. We are part of the universal mission of the Catholic Church, and we work with local, national, and international Catholic institutions, structures, and other organizations to assist people on the basis of need, not creed, race, or nationality. We've expanded a lot over the past 80 years in size, and we support almost 120 million people in 100 countries on 5 continents.
It's a big responsibility. How did Catholic Relief Services partnership with Caritas Ukraine and Caritas SPES begin? I think Caritas Ukraine is the Greek Catholic population, and SRES is over the Roman Catholic population.
That's correct. Caritas Ukraine is affiliated with the Greek Catholic Church, and Caritas SPES is affiliated with the Roman Catholic Church. And both are actually celebrating about 30 years working in Ukraine.
Oh, wow.
And Catholic Relief Services, we often choose to work with our local Caritas partners in country, and we support with training, partnering on joint projects, mentoring. And our partnership with Caritas Ukraine really ramped up in 2014 in response to the outbreak and military hostilities in the Donbass region of Ukraine. And our experience, our global experience with emergencies from around the world helped to strengthen the Caritas response to working with internally displaced people from that conflict. And that experience has actually informed our partnership and the work that we're doing today.
So you mentioned that CRS helps Caritas out with some training, and as tensions heightened between Russia and Ukraine last year, Caritas conducted some simulations training in case something like this war or a humanitarian crisis happened, you know. In your opinion, how important is it to be prepared? Stuff that a lot of people might find unexpected, but, you know, could happen.
It has been incredibly important. Right before the hostilities broke out on the 24th of February, CRS had been in Ukraine a few weeks earlier to work on scenarios if there was going to be a large influx of refugees. Caritas itself was the one that conducted interviews with their local centers. They found out the needs they needed and how they would prepare. So the morning of the 24th, Caritas was able to quickly mobilize its network. And I think having a plan kind of awoken them from the shock that they had. And they were able to mobilize right away. And so from day one, Caritas was out on the ground providing services. And I think that came from the pre-planning, and just, it always is good to have a plan. Of course, this is the worst of the worst case scenarios. It's constantly changing. So we're constantly planning for the future and coming up with contingency plans. So it's a continual process.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was really perceptive and impressive that you had the mind to prepare for a situation like this, because it's not something that you see a lot of organizations really doing. So right now, what is your main focus in helping the displaced families and refugees fleeing Ukraine?
You know, at the beginning, the first wave of refugees, there was some immediate needs at the border, bringing food, bringing water, hot drinks, keeping them warm, making sure they were getting to where they needed to be. Recent wave of refugees that we're seeing, or internally displaced people inside Ukraine, are more vulnerable. We are seeing a more traumatized population that has really witnessed some of the most horrific events. Many have lost loved ones, so their needs are different. And we're taking the experience that Caritas has over the past 8 years, using that to make sure that we're providing for the whole person, not just their most basic needs, but also their social and emotional needs as we move further into this crisis situation.
Yeah, that's another thing that I've seen. People coming out of places like Bucha and Mariupol, it's definitely important to focus on the psychological trauma that a lot of people go through in situations like that. And I've seen that a lot of the evacuation centers and reception services that CRS and Caritas you've largely focused on psychosocial and mental support. How important do you believe it is to help the refugees and displaced families with these issues at this time?
I think it's incredibly important. And we're really talking about working with the whole person and all of their needs. Here in Moldova, the people that we're seeing are mostly women and children.
Yeah.
And it's really important that these separated families are able to get not just food and shelter, which of course is incredibly important, but also safe spaces and people to talk to be able to name the trauma that they've gone to. I'm a mother myself, so I know how important it is to get advice on how to talk to your children, how to explain the very scary things that they may have seen. So again, I think we need to look at people's most basic needs and include emotional needs in those most basic needs, how we can respond to people affected by this.
Yeah.
I did want to say something about Bucha because the tragedy there was so difficult to watch, but it was only 2 days ago I got some email and some pictures from Caritas Spes, who had already been in Bucha. As soon as the humanitarian corridors open up, they were in there providing food and assistance to people. And again, that's where the planning comes in, to make sure that as soon as humanitarian corridors open up, as soon as it's safe to go, we are right there going into these communities, providing people with what they need.
Just seeing the aftermath of what happened there and immediately went in to help meet the needs of the people there. It's really courageous and awesome to see how people step in. I definitely see the need for mental support. There's a lot of unspeakable stuff going on right now that people just are not prepared to deal with on their own.
And I would say that the beauty of Caritas is that it's in the communities. So it's already in these communities, already working. And so the whole network has been able to mobilize, and from the places that they've had to leave because of ongoing hostilities, they just go to another Caritas and start assisting from there. So our whole network for this entire time has been active in the ground. And I think that's why we were able to respond so quickly to the situation on the ground.
So being in Moldova, what are some stories coming out of this situation that you've heard that have touched you emotionally in any way?
It's really interesting being in Moldova because, as you know, Moldova is the poorest country in Europe, yet it has taken in per capita more refugees from Ukraine than any other country in the world. So it's incredibly impressive to be here and witness the generosity of the Moldovan people on the ground. It has been very emotional meeting the people here. We have a center which houses refugees from Ukraine. Again, it's mothers and children or grandmothers, sometimes grandfathers with their smallest children. It's meeting people that have been separated from their families. And I think about Elena because she has a child close to my children's age, and she came here with her 5-year-old daughter and her mother-in-law. And why a lot of people are staying in Moldova is they want to go back. They want to go back as soon as possible to Ukraine, so they want to stay close. And that was her situation. She wants to stay close, so as soon as she can go back. And she was telling me about how she taught her daughter to go down with her to the bomb shelter. She made it a game. And would say, oh, this is the time, if you hear this noise, then it's a game, we get to go play. And that was really emotional. Yeah, that was really emotional to talk to her. She is with us safe in Moldova in one of our centers. And when she's not with her daughter, she's volunteering. So she volunteers every day. I see her every day welcoming new refugees in. Yeah, it's been very, very emotional meeting these people, but not only them, it's meeting the Moldovans that are opening their homes to welcome more people in. For your audience, which is an audience of of people that want to help. I mean, I think that is what I try to focus on during this incredibly tragic time. Just so many people like yourself that are helping, trying to get the word out, saying what's happening. It's really been an incredible experience to be able to witness that.
Yeah, it's definitely been uplifting to just see the Ukrainian people in this situation, in this circumstance, have a heart to be selfless towards others. And that's a big part of this, is we want as many people in the US or around the world to be able to see how the Ukrainians are handling this, the needs of the people right now. Like you said, Moldova is one of the poorest countries in Europe, and they've been extremely generous in opening their doors to Ukrainian refugees, given all that they have to help others. Some other organizations that we've spoken to have said that the resources are there, but the prices seem to be rising. Has your organization come across this problem while being in Moldova?
Yes, I mean, we have seen prices rising. I have an example in which we wanted to get some posters made, and they ran out of the paper to make the posters because they used to get that paper from Ukraine. So that is definitely an issue, something we're looking at. I think something that the government of Moldova is looking at as well. We have brought in a logistics expert and a supply chain expert as we try to source things from other countries outside of Ukraine. But I think this war is going to have ripple effects that affects everything from the economy and the surrounding countries to the price of bread or the price of food. So we're keeping an eye on that. One thing that Catholic Relief Services is doing, which I think is very innovative with our partner Caritas Moldova, is looking at how we can support hosting communities. So those communities in Moldova, especially in the rural areas, that are hosting Ukraine refugees, how can we support them as they support others? Everything from helping revamp some housing stock that they might have, renovate rooms that they might have. They've been using their own money to support Ukrainian families, how we can provide some cash, multi-purpose cash assistance, so that we're helping Moldovans who are helping Ukrainians. And I think that we'll be looking at doing more of those activities in the months to come.
Yeah, that's definitely innovative. I haven't really heard of a lot of organizations supporting the people that are supporting Ukrainians, because a lot of those people are hurting as well right now, like you said, because a lot of people maybe get their resources from, or before got their resources from Russia or from Ukraine. And because of this whole situation, a lot of people are hurting right now economically, or just supplies and everything like that. And I think that is a great mindset to have, to help the people that are helping people. That's definitely awesome.
Yes, that's right.
What are a few ways that our listeners can support Catholic Relief Services right now and all that it's doing, not just for Ukraine, but for people around the world?
Great. Well, I mean, I would say if you are financially able, you can go visit our website, www.crs.org, and find out about our work in Ukraine and also our work in other countries around the world. But there are other ways you can help. Show your solidarity. Contact your government officials and ask them what they're doing to support Ukraine and to bring peace. Keep talking about this issue. Podcasts like yours are incredibly important. I wake up every day with the word Mariupol on my lips. Like, we just have to keep talking about Ukraine, keep talking about what's happening, what happened in Bucha, all of this, keep it present, keep it in the news. So I think that there's a lot of things that everyday people can do. Again, if you're financially able to support the wonderful work we're doing, if you're able to contact a government official, find out what they're doing. You can do solidarity days, you can talk about it, you can host podcasts. There are really lots of things you can do to support what's happening in Ukraine and countries like Moldova that are opening their doors to refugees, to have them find safe spaces to live and thrive.
Yeah, I definitely think it's great to keep the awareness up, especially whenever these days it's so easy to get distracted because there's always another thing coming. But it's
That's
definitely
right.
great to keep the word about Ukraine and keep it on people's minds. And I would encourage everybody to go and support Catholic Relief Services in any way you can. Talk to your government officials. Just bring more awareness to everybody around you. Cassandra, is there anything else that maybe we left out that you think would be important to say before we close?
Well, just I think you point on this, but I just want to say that I am so impressed with the heart and the passion of the Ukrainian people and how they are coming together during this difficult time. I find it inspirational. I get a lot of inspiration from my partners at Caritas Ukraine and Caritas Spes, who working day and night to support the most vulnerable people. And I just think it's important to recognize what is happening and to thank them for their support. And I thank you for having this opportunity to talk about our work.
Yeah, I think thanks for coming on and bringing about awareness to what's going on in Ukraine. And not only that, but sharing stories that you've heard around where you are that can inspire others and help in the best way they can.
Thank you.
So I encourage everybody to go to www.crs.org and support Catholic Relief Services in any way because they're doing great things in and around Ukraine in whatever way that they can. And again, thank you for coming on the show, Cassandra.
Thank you. Let's hope for peace.
Yeah.
Colton, thank you for such a great interview. I did not know so much about Catholic Relief Services. In fact, before you brought this interview to us, I actually never really paid attention to who they were. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people don't really keep up with nonprofits, but I think tuning into this show and learning about nonprofits that everybody can support is really important for people to continue to do. So they can learn about some of these nonprofits and see the personalities of some of the people that are helping out so much in and around Ukraine right now. Speaking to Cassandra, it was really my pleasure. She was great to talk to. She gave me some insight on some of the things that she's seeing in Moldova right now and just her view on the Ukrainian people after seeing what they're doing, how they're helping each other after this conflict has broken out, this war. And she enlightened me on some of the things that they're doing over there. You know, whenever she said that they're helping out Moldovans that are helping out Ukrainian people by giving their homes, their resources, it's just really inspiring to see people want to help so much.
And Sandra, I'm so glad that you're doing well after having a baby, and I cannot wait to actually get to see the baby sometime in the future.
Yeah, we're really excited for this next week, and maybe you will get a chance to see her next week if she won't be too cranky. We're really excited for this next week. And next week, as I already said, we're gonna have some more updates on Joshua House. We will have an interview with Samaritan's Purse, which you will hear some. And it's amazing what they're doing right now in Ukraine, so stay tuned.
Thank you for making it to this podcast today. I know that you've been up with a baby all day long. Colton, Sandra, thank you so much for joining me. And for those that are listening, thank you for what you do in your love and support of Joshua House and Ukraine. If you'd like to know more about Joshua House and what they are doing, you can just go ahead and attach to the website that is in the description of this podcast. Feel free to engage with any questions, but also know that what they are doing is necessary and needed. And if you are able to financially support Joshua House and what they're doing, please do so. Well, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. On behalf of Colton, Sandra, and myself, you have a great week and stay safe.